expands fundamentals of learning, 5 tips in 5 minutes. If this is your first time joining me, please hit the subscribe button. Now, for the next few weeks, I'm actually going to be using Principal Kafeles, a handbook for teachers of African American children, to share some tips with you on how we can make education better for our African American students that we teach, right? So the first chapter in his book talks about the missing component. And the missing component is African history being taught in the public school system. Now, the 5 tips that I have here are ways that we can fill in that missing component. Now, tip number 1, know thyself, right? We have to begin to teach our African American boys and girls about self-worth. We have to put content and material in front of them that looks like them so that they feel a sense of self-worth in our classrooms, right? Tip number 2, history is not an add-on. African history, African American history, Black history, it shouldn't just be something that's taught in February. It should be embedded in the content that we teach throughout the year, and not just in history, in English language arts, in science, in math, right? They should be able to make a connection to the people that we are teaching about in every content area, in every month that they're in school, not just February, okay? Tip number 3, you are more than your current situation. In the book, he gives an example about Mary McLeod Bethune and how she had $1.50 to her name, but she really wanted to start a school. So she raised the money to start her own school, and now there are children today attending colleges, attending her college, right? And then he gives a story about George Washington Carver, how he was born a slave, but now we know him as one of the greatest scientists in U.S. history, right? So delivering that same message to the students that we teach, that your current circumstance, your current neighborhood, the current trials that you're facing, that doesn't have to stop you from being great. That doesn't have to stop your greatness, right? And then tip number 4, giving them a sense of pride. And I'm actually going to read what he wrote in the book because I tried to phrase it and I tried to kind of recreate it, but I just can't do it justice. So on page 21 of the book, he says that imagine how young African American children would feel about themselves as descendants of Africa, knowing that disciplines such as science and technology, astronomy and astrology, architecture and engineering, philosophy and ethics, and mathematics, including calculus, trigonometry, algebra, and geometry, all originated in Africa, right? So that student that's saying, oh, I'm so bad at math, or I'm so bad at science, or I'm so bad at this or that. Imagine how they would feel if we actually had a conversation with them and said, do you know that this originated where your ancestors are from? Do you know that it's in your blood to be a scientist? It's in your blood to be a mathematician? Like, do you know how awesome that they would feel? How awesome that would make them feel if we just had that small conversation with them about that. And then the last thing is, if you don't know them, you can't teach them. And I try to say it in a nicer way, but that's what it boils down to. If you don't know them as human beings, it doesn't matter what race you are. Even as an African American teacher myself, if I don't know my history and if I don't have pride in myself, how can I deliver that to African American students, right? And even bringing it to their culture right now. What sports are they involved in right now? What do they like right now? What type of music do they like? What type of food do they like, right? Knowing them as individuals and then trying to get to know them as students, we'll be able to reach them and teach them a lot better. So if we are looking at these tips for this week, we have to teach them about self-worth. We have to teach history throughout the year. We have to teach them that they are more than their current situation. Give them a sense of pride, and then learn who they are as people so that we can reach and teach them, right? This has been Miss Fan with Miss Fan's Fundamentals of Learnings, 5 tips in 5 minutes. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you would like more information or a copy of the book, I will place a link in the description. And I will also place a link to my website if you would like to stay connected. And I thank you for watching.